the lecture.
Okay.
hmm So I apologize for that. Sometimes I get a little overwhelmed with stuff, and the posting of the videos takes a little bit of time. So I'm going to definitely put that time aside. But you
Mhm.
could still, you should still be able to, kind of figure out, what needs to happen in
Oh
the
yeah.
analysis. But yeah, we're going to do another one today. Okay, so we're going to take the roll. Just 1 minute. When you hear your name, folks, you know the drill.
Oh, and Dr. Barnes.
Yes, ma'am.
There's the chapter 3 last section, that
Mm-hmm.
homework that you said is it. It says the assignment doesn't unlock till November 10th, but
Right,
it's not due till November 12th, right?
right, right.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. No surprises here, folks. No surprises. The goal is to prepare you and to help create an understanding through the medium of art that will transcend into your various pursuits and occupations. Because a lot of this stuff, it is translatable to other things other than art. Okay, so let me take the role. Mr. Albert, Jeremiah Albert.
Yeah.
Mr. Barnes,
Here.
Mr. Blacher,
I'm
Richard.
up.
All right. Breon Brumfield.
Here.
Okay. Deja. Deja Davis. Kyle.
Here.
Sierra Gaines. And we'll come back to her. Tia Green.
Here.
Jordan.
Here.
Hey, it's my pleasure to meet you in person last week.
Hmm. Thank you.
J. Brian Hilaire.
Here.
Pove.
Here.
Renee Lyons.
Here.
Nye Esenia Mafi. Nye Esenia Mafi. Mr. Oreki.
I'm right here.
Jasmine.
Here.
Ashley Sco.
Here.
Timothy. Mr. Shorts. Is Mr. Shorts in the house? Elena.
Here.
Spencer.
Here.
Miss Turner.
Here.
Chloe's here. Devontae Williams.
I'm up.
Ever Winston.
Here.
Darlinda.
Here.
Nataja.
Natasha Young here.
Okay, Nataja. Deepest apologies. All right, folks. So let's get started today. Give me 1 second. All right, folks, I'm going to put up my share screen. We're going to review a couple of Benny Andrews pieces using our visual analysis tool. By the way, I need to have your bonus point assignments in before the end of business hours tomorrow. And remember that you're going to send those to me via email. We're not going to send them through Canvas. So, yeah, Canvas. Anyway, so let me put my share screen up. All right, this is great. Okay, and here we go. All right, so we have a Benny Andrews work of art here. Trying to make this a little bigger. All right, so let's take a look at this. I'm going to pull up my visual analysis chart. That's in course resources. So before we get started, what did y'all think about the Basquiat movie? Any comments on the Basquiat documentary?
It was cool. It was interesting.
Yeah, so you see the fine line between collaboration and exploitation. Often, often advise younger creatives to be wary of older creatives that are towards the end of their career, because lots of times it doesn't matter if it's visual art, music, uh, fashion, even in science and research. You know, you might think you're dealing with this legendary scientist that you're going to learn from, but they're really short on ideas and seeking relevance. And then they allow you in, and so you're thinking that you're here to learn from them, but they're really here to pick your brain and take your ideas. So it's a useful lesson to learn. Uh, be careful with your ideas, young people. They have more currency than you could ever imagine. And if you're sharing them with older people, make certain those older people are successful already. Because if they're not, they might just need that one little thing to push them over. And that's why they're dealing with you. Okay, so now any other comments on the Basquiat movie? I mean, he's a very young man. He died at 27. And if you look at the value that his work is yielding in his absence, is really, it's almost like it's not even what he made by a human, it's a financial instrument.
Didn't they say that he like left over 1,000 works
Yeah.
after his death? I found that interesting because like I'm a writer. So as a writer, it's like I can't imagine creating so many pieces before like, a sudden death or, I die young versus him, he made over 1,000. And, artists tend to be perfectionists, no matter if you're a writer, a dancer, artist, whatever. So it was just crazy how he made that many that he actually liked.
He's not the only one like that. If remember the artist named Prince, visual artist, I mean, musician,
Mm-hmm.
he produced thousands of songs. In fact, his catalog has enough songs in it to release new music for the next 15 years. And his sister sold it to Warner Brothers. But it's like prolific artists are very rare and unique. Now, one thing about Basquiat, he perfected a system of work where he could knock a piece out, a massive piece in one day. And so what I notice is the most successful creatives, they produced a method of working that gives them quick results. And most artists, as you mentioned, are perfectionists and will spend a lot of time cleaning up and refining, and they just release this really raw, timely product that touches people right at that particular point of their understanding, like what's happening now, what's happening today. And if you listen to music, right, the new music, a lot of it doesn't appear to be very refined, does it?
Give or take a few songs.
But it has a rawness to it. And I mean, if you compare the music from like the 80s to now,
Hmm.
it took like 3 or 4 years to make an album, whereas now people can cut an album in maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but something to think about, folks. But it was very interesting, and I think it's always a good segue. Another weakness he had was once he started making money, I'm sure the people around him made sure that he started taking hard drugs. You know, and that pretty much diminished his ability to reason and understand what was happening around him. And you notice the people around him were very permissive about that. Nobody was trying to stop him or whatnot, So all those people who were still alive at some point were bringing him the drugs. Be very careful about the people you associate with, young people. Okay, so now let's get to PSA out the way. Let's take a look at the Benny Andrews piece. Okay, so let's take a close look. Get the entire image. Actually, let me see if I can just blow this up. Don't take me to it. There we go. There we go. Okay, so come on. This is the Benny Andrews image, okay? Let's just take a minute to take a look at it. And then we'll start our review. So let's observe the line work. What type of line work is at most heavily at play in this composition? And anybody can take the question who would like to. Okay, Jordan, what type of line work do you see? And when I ask about line work, remember, I'm not necessarily asking about how you feel about the whole piece. I'm just asking about the directions of the lines, the types of
Okay.
and edges.
My computer is still tripping, so you're gonna hear stuff in the background, but I'll try my best to do the analysis. Um, well, the first line I see is in the middle, and
Hmm.
it's a clean line, and I see a lot of refined lines, like on the stool, on the man's pants, on what he's sitting on, and everything just looks very clean and very organized.
Okay, very good, very good. So you see clean edges. Okay, so that would be one way we would evaluate the clean edges. Now, the reason why you see this line down the middle is because this is what's referred to, this composition of painting is called a diptych. Dip meaning two. So it's two panels that are joined together. And so that's what makes up the composition. Now, why are these lines so clean? The reason they're so clean is that these elements are cut collages, meaning the artist painted these figures and then cut the painted material. He cut the canvas up, cut their shapes out, and glued them to this surface. So that may account for the super cleanliness of edge and how the figures appear to be kind of floating off the surface. Let's see, Chloe, any comments on the line work? How would you feel this form out?
I don't really have any comments.
Okay, how about Jaron Barnes? Comments on the line work? Guess he's not there. Uh, Jay Brion, comments on the line work.
Um, I'd say I'd have to agree with Jordan. Everything looks it's really clean. Um, I wouldn't say like in reference to organic or geometric lines. I feel like it's both.
Okay, very good, very good. She said they're organic and they're geometric lines. So what appears to be what we're looking at, this male figure is the artist, and this box is his box of drawing pencils, colored pencils, and this is his paper surface that he's drawing on. Okay, all right, let's move on to the next spot, shape. Okay, shape. So, Mr. Bletcher, what type of shapes do we see in this composition? Is Richard here? Is Richard Bletcher here? Okay, then is Covey here? What type of shapes do we see, Mr. Joseph?
Other than the geometric shapes like the box and the I think that's a sketchbook or a sketch pad in front of the man. They
Mm-hmm.
have like the hats and the stool, and the woman's bag is kind of a rounded out object.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. So you see some rounded shapes and some linear shapes, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, all right, okay. No problem. Now, what sort of forms are at work? Remember, the form is the total visual effect. And I'm going to give this question to Miss Veal. What is the total visual effect of this composition?
The total visual effect of this um composition is he's basically trying to paint her, like
Hmm.
um he's trying to get her to be steady so he could paint her on the canvas, on the sketch pad or whatever.
Okay. Now, there's several ways to talk about this, and this refers back to shape. Okay. So we can say that the primary uh, that this is for the most part a bunch of negative space. This empty white area, we would refer to that as negative space, and that there has been an incorporation of a distance of negative space between the two positives. We could say that as well. So yeah, when we talk about shapes, we do look at these open spaces on the stool, the space between the feet, the space between this figure and this structure and this structure. So we could refer to that as negative space. Okay, which leads to the next one, volume and mass.
Professor Barnes,
Yes.
I just saw an assignment called Benny Andrews, and
Mm-hmm.
I realized I hadn't done it because I think when I tried to open it earlier in the semester, I don't think there was a link, and I think it was locked. But now I can see it. So if I do it tomorrow and turn it in tomorrow, will I be penalized?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. A lot of people had issues with the Benny Andrews piece, and my intention was to push it back. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and push the assignment back. No, I don't think anyone was penalized for that with the midterm.
Okay. I'll do it tomorrow. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, all right. So volume and mass. How about Miss Hilaire? Remember, the volume is the outline of things, and the mass is what's inside of things. What do we see volume wise, and then what do we see mass wise?
So it's not a lot of mass because there's only two people and a little paint. So there's
Hmm.
not much mass in the image, I mean, in the artwork, but it looks like there's a lot of volume because it's a lot of negative space.
Okay, that's a good observation. But if we have to look at the actual mass that is present, what type of surfaces do we see? So, for instance, the female figure's dress. What is filling up this space? Okay, I think your audio is having some difficulty right now, so I'm gonna move on to is Timothy Shorts here? Is Mr. Shorts here? Okay, well, how about Ashley Scoe? Is Ashley here? Hmm.
Yes.
Okay, Ashley. So we're talking about the mass. So that is the space that is filled on the painting. I'm going to zoom into his shirt in this figure. How would you describe the mass? So you can see the shadow here, folks, from the edge of the collage that's peeling up. What do we say about the mass?
Hmm. I would say that the mask from his shirt would be because it looked like he have many other colors involved in that.
hmm Okay, so how about the mass over here? Because remember, this orange hat is part of that as well as this dress. How would you describe the mass holding elements? Well, if you're not certain, I'll help you out. You simply want to say, okay, she's wearing an orange, painted orange hat inside of that mask, and she has a patterned dress. And we
Mm-hmm.
could say with the man's shirt, he has a textured shirt, and he has what appears to be collaged elements on his arm, because this piece looks separate from this, as well as a textured skin pattern slash tone. That is a way we could describe it. Because we're simply just talking about what we see inside of the contours of the shapes. So the volume could easily be said to be mostly negative space, and the mass is simply you're just describing what's inside of these shapes. So you're talking about the colors, the patterns, the texture, and whatnot. Okay, so next thing, texture. See, each line leads into the next thing. So if we had to discuss the texture, Ashley, what would you say about the texture? And remember, folks, when we talk about texture, we're talking about the way things feel visually. So we want to use language as rough, smooth, fuzzy, plastic. What sort of texture do you see?
The texture I see in his shirt would be like it's sort of wrinkled, but it's not wrinkled,
Okay, all right. How about the texture of this figure's face,
but it's
hat?
also smooth. His face kind of looks rough.
Okay, so we say rough texture for the face,
Mm-hmm.
wrinkly texture for the shirt. Uh, how about the rest of them?
It's smooth.
Okay. And how about for the female figure? How would you describe the texture here?
The texture, I would say, that the texture of her hat is very smooth. The dress is smooth, and her skin tone is smooth.
Okay.
Everything is smooth.
Yeah. So let's not make it too complex for ourselves. All right. So we'll move on to the next element. Value. That is the lightness or darkness of the elements in it. So that's going to go to Jared Barnes. Is Jared back? Are you here, Jared Barnes? Okay, how about
I
Sierra?
see. I see. What's the term again?
Texture.
Oh, I thought we were done with texture.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We're on value, the lightness of.
Oh, okay. I see. I was curious why one of his arms is darker than the other one.
Uh-huh.
One arm is lighter. Well, it's still dark because he's an African American man, but one arm is significantly lighter than the other one. And there's a
Okay.
lot of light and dark tones that balance each other out for a creative visual, I would say.
Very good, very good. So part of this artist's style is he collages. So this hand was painted separately and cut separately from a canvas and glued to the existing canvas. So it's one of the visual tricks that this master artist is known for. Okay. So it's some of the things people who love his work, they look for those very subtle shifts in change. Okay. So in value, okay, we can say that most of the composition is white and that the darker elements contrast heavily. Hmm. All righty. And the next one is space and implied depth. And this question is going to go to Devante. Space and implied depth.
Space and implied depth.
Hmm.
There's a lot of negative space, meaning like it's empty.
Can you speak up a little bit?
I said there's a lot of like negative space,
Hmm. Hmm.
but the
Right.
space that he does fill, it is very detailed
Right.
based. Like, as you can tell, like in the man's shirt, it's very detailed, and
Okay.
he more like he shades to add what's the word?
Value.
Yes, sir, value.
All right. So the question that I have for you is, when you look at this as a viewer, do you get a sense of depth? Meaning, meaning, do you feel as though you're looking into the painting, like there's a sense of distance in the painting, or does everything appear to be at the surface, or does it feel like you can like look into it?
I can really look into it because I can really like see throughout the picture.
Okay, so now here's the question: is one of the figures closer to the viewer than the other? And
Yes,
okay, which one is closer to the viewer?
the lady.
Okay, there we go. So when you answer the question about space and depth, okay, it's good to identify that this composition is primarily negative space, but in terms of the depth, the way you would discuss it would be the female figure appears to be closer to the viewer, and the depth effect is happening the most with the male figure who is presented as studying her. See, all of this is a challenge to describe because depth is a measurement that doesn't really apply to two-dimensional work. So all that really applies to two-dimensional work is height and width. So that illusion of depth is pretty much what the question is asking. Was the artist able to produce that illusion of depth, and in what way? So we would say the artist was successful in producing an illusion of depth, and the artist presents the figures as though the orange-hatted female figure is closer to the viewer than the male figure that's studying her. That is a way you could describe it. Okay, color. Now this one should be easy. This is going to go to Mr. Winston, Ever Winston. Uh, please describe the colors that you see in this composition.
Well, immediately my eyes are drawn to the artist's little box of supplies because like it has a lot of different colors in it. But then also the very bright orange of the woman's hat against the bright blue ribbon. But then we switch over to the artist, and he's got a lot of darker tones to him. He's not really all that vibrant.
Okay, which is interesting, isn't it? Considering that the artist is trying to capture all of this vibrancy. So it was very ingenious for this particular artist, Mr. Andrews, to make the subject more visually vibrant color wise than the artist. So good answer, Ever. Good answer. Okay, so Miss Young, you're going to take the next one. We talked about color. Remember, folks, we always skip motion and time unless we're dealing with a video. So when we talk about unity, we're talking about all the elements, the scale, proportion, space, implied depth, value, texture. We're talking about how all of those elements are unified. So let's take a look, Miss
Um,
Young.
can implied movement be like considered motion? Like if we're doing this
Absolutely.
analysis? So
Absolutely.
could we also use motion in time for like sculptures if we're talking about implied motion or implied
Sure,
movement?
sure.
Okay.
You technically you could say there's an implied motion here, you know. So go ahead with your analysis because I think this is very interesting, folks. So
Okay, well, as far as the implied movement goes, you can tell that the lady is posing for
mhm.
something. And the man, he's obviously an artist with the utensil in his hand. So, like, the implied motion here is that he's about to draw her, or, you know.
Very good, very good. And how would you describe the male artist? And we know he's about to draw her, but what is it about his stance that you know uh, gives you that implied sense of motion? What is it in particular?
It's kind of like he's focused and studying her. Like, he's not, I want to say slouch, but you can tell he's kind of like forward, almost as he's trying to like look closely and see details.
Absolutely, absolutely. So he is zooming in, and it's an action pose. Very much. Excellent answer, Miss Young. Excellent answer.
Well, that was Miss Wright, but
Miss Wright. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought that was Nataja. Okay, so is Nataja here? Can you take the next one?
Yes, I can take
Okay.
the next.
Okay, the next one is variety. Describe the variety of elements, which includes the scale, proportion, the color, the texture. What sort of what are the various elements that you see?
Like the male image, like the artist image, his pictures are like more dull, or his colors is more dull and more darker and neutral. There's more like gray shading and like different yeah, shading. Like it looks like it's lighter in his face, but there's a lot of shadows. And
Excellent,
then
excellent. Keep going. Mhm.
the woman, her colors are like really vibrant and they stand out and they're like similar to like the colors on his like art. I don't know if that's like colored pencils or paint or whatever, but like those colors are like really vibrant and they pop out.
Excellent, excellent. Now, something that I noticed that I didn't mention before when we talk about value, right? So, going all the way back up here to value, what we didn't mention was that uh, you can tell that the figure's back is facing the light, and you can tell that the artist's face is facing the light. And when you look at his shirt, you can see that the front part of the shirt is reflecting light, and as we get further to the back of the shirt, it's showing shadow. And the same can be said for this forearm and his leg. You can even say that when you look at his box of painting materials, the front surfaces are showing that same light source. So he was very careful. It's amazing when you stop and analyze stuff, you see how careful the artist was in maintaining certain artistic elements. Okay, so now we're going to go on to balance. And for this question, is Sierra Gaines here? How about Breon Brumfield? Let's go. Okay.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So we're asking about the balance, the visual balance. Do you see visual balance? And if so, describe it.
I do see visual balance because it's split in the middle. So, like on the right, it's him sitting on like a stool looking thing and his palette and everything. And then on the left, it's like she's sitting on something as well, but she's also holding a bag, which I think kind of balances out the like palette he has on the other side and her hat as well. Because it's like on the left, her hat and her bag is more vibrant, and then on the right, his palette and like what he has going on is more vibrant. If that makes sense.
Excellent answer. Excellent answer. That is the answer. It is a fully balanced composition. You could literally go object per object on each side and see its equal balance on the other side. So very good answer. Very good answer. Okay, so the next one. Okay, so we did balance. We're going to return to scale and proportion. And so that question should go to, okay, Darlinda has spoken, Miss Young has spoken. Is anyone who hasn't had a chance to respond today? Go ahead and take this one.
Yeah, I take it.
Okay.
And which
Scale
one?
and proportion.
You said proportion.
Scale and proportion. Right, right.
All right, so you got the pencil in his hand,
Mm-hmm.
in relation to the size of his actual hand. Same thing for her purse. How it's a bag got to carry stuff, so it seems a little more sizable.
Very good. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Now, I will have to say, it would be hard to discern the scale without being in front of the piece. So all we really can talk about is the proportion because I sense that this is a pretty large composition, maybe 10 feet wide by 4 feet tall.
mm,
But we can't gauge that from the screen. So all right, keep going with your proportional elements.
yeah, just like it's like the regular stuff, like the chest is not too big or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Look like somebody her size could sit in it. Uh, the hat, um, his hat, um, and the size of the what that is, the palette, the coloring thing.
Yeah, yeah, color pencils or paints to
Yeah,
supply it. Very good, very good. So I do think this is getting a little easier. Wouldn't y'all say it's getting a little easier? Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yes.
So now we have pattern. Okay, so Chloe, tell us about the patterns that we see in the composition.
I would say the pattern and like her dress.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know because I can't really see it like inside the details of it.
Let me try to
But
zoom in for you. Is that better?
yeah, so it looked like little shapes of like clouds or something like that, or
Yeah,
dots.
you can see,
Dots.
yeah, a colored cloud pattern, and so color
Yeah.
wise, how would you describe the pattern?
It goes from different colors, like it goes from yellow to pink to green and and yeah.
Pretty loud noise. I apologize for that. Okay, so do you see any other patterns?
Um, let me see. I guess in a man's shirt and his t-shirt.
Very good. There's pattern and texture there.
Yeah.
Uh, we could also say there's patterns in his socks. Back
Okay.
in the day, men wore these dress socks with this tubing, and it was very sheer, kind of like a lace, and that was considered Clean. All right. All right. So, all right, folks. So we're close to the end of the class. So what we have left is rhythm. Who would like to take rhythm?
Me.
Okay. Who is me?
Deja.
What's that?
Deja Davis.
Okay, Deja. Okay, yeah. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about rhythm. What type
Okay.
of rhythm?
To me, the rhythm would probably be how they have like okay to go back to her dress. See how
Mm-hmm.
they have like the same trickled colors through her purse to her hat. I feel
Yes.
like they're trying to like get like show some type of form of rhythm there. With like along with the pattern like Chloe said that's in her dress. I feel like they're trying to like continue a rhythm of those same colors trickling through her purse in her hat. Um,
Very
those
good.
same colors also are coming from the palette. Um, I guess you can say in his face too, and in his shirt. Look closer.
Very good.
They have those same patterns trying to like through sides of both sides of the photo. And so I guess to tie it back into the painting, I guess why I left the painting blank because those colors from the palette are like going through like the rhythm of them are going through each person there. So that's just
Excellent.
how I see it.
Excellent. Excellent. That's she described it fully. And you think about how rhythm is used by us as individuals and how we, structure our outfits. So, this woman posing was very aware that this orange hat with the blue sash would match this dress and this purse and these shoes, right? And that
Yes, the
this,
lighter blue matching with the darker blue, but the darker
right.
blue also bringing the orange in her shoes, in her hat, in her purse out more. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Excellent answer. Last but not least, focal point, emphasis, and subordination. Who would like to take this one? Focal point, emphasis, and subordination. So the focal point, just to remind everybody, that is the part of the composition that has the most visual weight, and the emphasis is the space your eyes go to first, and subordination represents the part of the composition you go to last. Who would like to take that?
Can I take that one?
Certainly. Who are you?
Tia Green?
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead. Go ahead, Miss Green.
I think the focal point would be the man sitting down because when I first looked at this artwork, my eyes immediately just went to him. I guess because like the certain style, the art media they use to like portray him, like
Mm-hmm.
it's like a different coloring from her, from the woman.
Okay. So that is your focal point. Now, what is your point of emphasis? Your point of emphasis is like the first the first part of the composition that jumps out at you.
oh,
I don't know how to explain that one.
Okay.
may I
Okay.
help?
Sorry.
Sure. Sure.
I feel like the first thing that pops out is the palette
Okay.
because that's where all these colors are coming from. If you look closer to it, all of the colors
Mm,
from the photo are coming out of the palette. Um, I don't know. To me, that's what it looks like.
great, great answer. Now, what is the point of subordination? What is the part of the composition that you discover last?
Um, I feel like the blank painting is something that I would discover last because the rest of the rest of the picture is white. So the color comes from everything else.
Very good, very good. So listen up, folks. We have to wrap this class up. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I'm very confident that you all are able to do these assignments. So, Chloe, I'm going to post this lecture as well as Friday's lecture this afternoon. Scouts honor.
Okay.
Okay, so you all enjoy the rest of your day, and
I have
yes.
When is the assignment? I think it was chapter or continuation of chapter 3 assignment. When is that gonna be unlocked for us?
It's going to be unlocked on the 10th.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. Any other questions?
Dr. Barnes, can you post the Mondays video too?
Certainly. I'll post all three.
Okay.
Okay, folks. So, and if there are no other questions, I got to let y'all go because some of you have to go to a class. So, have a great day, and I'll see you all on Wednesday.
Okay.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.